Guys, it's Wednesday morning, and this is week 6 of our image series. And the image that we're talking about today are rocks. And once there was a professor who went into his class with a big jar and a bucket of rocks, randomly assorted rocks, some big rocks, some small rocks, some little rocks. And he began to randomly put different size rocks into a jar. And as you can imagine, the jar fills up very quickly. And he tells his class that this jar represents your week, okay? And there's only so much that you can put in it at once, and they all nodded their heads. But then the professor did something interesting. He emptied out all of the random rocks that he put in the jar, and then he began to put in only the biggest rocks, and holding up until the jar could not fit any more big rocks. And he asked his students, "Is the jar full?" And they all said yes. But then he said, "Not yet." So then he takes a bunch of the medium-sized rocks and begins filling those into the jar, and they start filling in the empty spaces that sort of fills in the gaps and the cracks of the bigger rocks, to where more rocks are packed around those. And he again asks his class, "Is it full?" And they all say, "Yes, it's full." And he says, "Not yet." Then he gets gravel, even smaller rocks, and begins to fill in around those spaces. Asks again, "Is it full?" "Yes." "Not yet." He begins to pour sand. Okay, you get the idea where this is going. Then the sand begins to fill the cracks. And then at the very last thing he does is he pours water into that to fill up all of the gaps. And finally he says, "Now it is full." And so what he asks his class, what's the purpose of this? What does this teach us? And while it was a lesson in time management, it's more a lesson in priorities. Okay, it's more a lesson in priorities and what are the things that we put into our life first. Okay, so if that jar represents a week, okay, what are the big priorities that you are putting in first? Because as a student, you have so many demands on you. You have tests you have to study for, you have papers you have to write, projects, practices that you have to attend, extracurricular activities. There's so many things that pile into your week. But my question is, what are the priorities? What are the big rocks that you are making sure that you put into your week? What are the big rocks that you are putting into your jar first? Okay, we see the story of Jesus in Mark chapter 1, starting in verse 32. He's at the home of Simon Peter, Simon Peter's mother-in-law, and people are lined up to come and receive healing, to come and get a blessing from Jesus, meet Jesus, all these different things, so many different needs. And so Jesus is healing these people, and while there are still people there, Jesus, in sort of like early in the morning, slips away from all of these people, and Peter goes to hunt him down. And he's like, what's going on? Like, people are looking for you. We want you to come back." And at first it seems a little maybe disingenuous of Jesus, that like, "Hey, here's all these needs, and this is what we want you to do." But what we see Jesus do is he slips away to spend time with the Father. He slips away to spend time in prayer. And what we see in that is we see Jesus setting that as a priority in his life. Okay, not necessarily what someone else wanted him to do, not what the crowds of people wanted him to do, but it was a priority that he set, okay, that he might have time with his Father. Okay, and so here's a few questions that I have for your groups. Okay, so at first glance, Jesus, it appears that Jesus sort of only reacted to people's needs in the Gospels, but list some examples from his life, from the life of Jesus, that reveal that he also had a set plan in certain priorities for his days. Like, what were the priorities of Jesus? That's the question. Okay, and what determines the things that fill your calendar? Your calendar. What are the things that what are the items that fill your calendar, and why? Why do they fill your calendar? Why are those the big rocks that you put in first? Okay, and then this question: do you tend to react more to the urgency of needs or to the voice of God? Okay, are your days filled by priorities or by requests of others? Okay, so is it the requests of others that fill your day, or is it the priorities in your life that you've set? Okay, and what might be a balance? Can you create a balance in that? Okay, you guys have a great group, and I will see you soon. Bye.